The following episode may contain references to Formula One controversies, both past and present. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, incredible triumph. Absolutely mind-blowing. I think it's been a long time coming. We've all seen it. It was on the horizon. It felt like a missing piece, wasn't it? It was, and it just took a while. Quite a few years, if you go back to 2020, 2021, every year it seemed like it must happen. It surely must happen. And last year, there were opportunities that were wasted. Not really wasted, but it was pretty close. And this year, actually, it did, and that's brilliant. And I think we're all delighted that Iga Świątek, WTA #1, has finally won WTA 1000 Madrid after thrilling 3-set finale with #2 Aryna Sabalenka. Amazing, one of the best tennis matches I've ever seen. Anything else happened this weekend?
Not off the top of my head, no. Very good. Was that tennis, by the way? Because I'm completely ignorant on tennis.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, we're not about tennis today. My name's Andy.
I'm Alex.
And this is Times Deleted.
And it slotted very neatly because it was on Saturday, so sprint happened, and there was 3-hour break. And that within that sort of window, the tennis match actually happened, and it slotted evenly, pretty neatly in between both F1 sessions on Saturday. So basically, I sat down on my sofa and I was just watching telly. I turned into my father. My TV has a thing when it tells me, it's going to go into standby mode because nothing has been clicked for the last 3 hours or 5. And yeah, it was a very lazy Saturday afternoon, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
I also had a very lazy Saturday afternoon.
No. I don't want to hear about it.
You don't want to hear about me sitting in front of the EFL Championship final match day where I watched Norwich lose to Birmingham.
And Ipswich. Was it Ipswich?
Ipswich went up. It was Ipswich v Huddersfield. They won 2-0. And Norwich lost 1-0 to Birmingham. But it made zero difference. Birmingham still got relegated. We are still in the playoffs. So.
Oh, wow. That was a very intense... Sorry. Yeah, sports.
Sports. It was a very sport-heavy weekend.
It was a sport-heavy weekend. Snooker, World Snooker Champion. The guy named Kyron won World Championship. That's ridiculous. You don't care about snooker, do you?
I know nothing about snooker. I know how to play it.
I mean, it's very difficult. And you've seen me play pool, so, sorry. Mm-hmm. Let me rephrase that. I destroyed you and everyone else at pool. I was very pleased with that.
Sure. Whatever it takes to help you sleep at night.
I don't sleep when I think about this, let me put it that way.
Speaking of getting excited, Adrian Newey.
Oh my god, Adrian Newey. I think the news sort of not really broke, but we had first substantial rumors of that coming in Friday, the week before. Yeah. And actually, if you see it on, you do like reading from BBC Sport, and it's usually a pretty reputable source. So when that kind of information pops up there, you know that something's afoot. Yeah, and later in the week, before, and I remember thinking to myself, well, that will be addressed during the Grand Prix weekend. The paddock is in the stadium, so they can't Christian Horner couldn't escape Sky Sports reporters. And it turns out he didn't have to because the news actually dropped midweek. Before everyone made it to Miami, I think.
Immediately after we stopped recording.
Did it? Almost. Oh
well. I think it was a day after.
Well, that's our fault.
We recorded the episode and then the news.
Yeah,
dropped.
Probably. Yeah, that seems likely. Yeah, the first episode we were talking about Hamilton going to Ferrari, and I overused the word seismic. Should I do this again?
Yes, seismic. Let's go. Seismic.
Ironically, I don't think so. Red Bull says it's fine, and Adrian Newey is quite old. All due respect, he's been in the spot. Let me put it this way: he was indicted in Italy in the probe or the lawsuit that was attached to Senna's accident. Think about that, and that's been 30 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
He's been in the sport, and he's been in the position...
He's been in the sport a long time. And
he's been in the position of being able to be accused of fucking up for quite a while. He obviously was acquitted in the end, so that's a nothing burger. But
yeah, he wasn't the sniper who took the tyre out. That's the second week in a row I mentioned that.
We need a clicker of stupid mentions of this, of Singapore, and of Abu Dhabi. Should
Oh,
be
there we go. Oh, click, click.
No, that was a meta commentary, and you're going to edit this out, so that's fine. Yeah, it's an end of an era, that's for sure. And the question is Adrian Newey actually going somewhere? Because
Is it the beginning of a new era? Say, a red era with dancing horses.
okay, so there are 4 options, as I see it. Mm-hmm. You're right, it could be Ferrari. And it was Vettel who said everyone's a Ferrari fan. Everyone's a Ferrari fan.
Everyone's a Ferrari fan, even just a little bit.
And I think it wasn't Justin Button who said, like, oh, he'd have to move to Italy. Would he? If you're Ferrari, you surely would let Adrian Newey work from home? Or, have a satellite? What would be the English equivalent of Maranello? Maranello-on-Trent or something, I don't know.
Maranello-on-Trent, fuck's sake.
So I don't think in today's era it's necessarily inconceivable for him to not live in Italy. And option number 2, and I do enjoy Zach Brown just stirring the pot. First of all, I think he very blatantly during press conference he said something along the lines of, it's massive because now Red Bull might actually start bleeding people. And I think he said it almost like corner's face, which is hilarious because we knew what Zach Brown knew what we didn't know during that press conference, that his car absolutely slaps for the time being. We'll get to it. And he was also asked when he was on pit wall, have you considered that? And I think the notion was, obviously we don't know, but I think he was giving very strong vibes of, we're happy with who we have and where we are. So there is no point of adding Adrian Newey just for the sake of adding Adrian Newey if you don't have a concept. What theory that I think would be even more romantic than him going to Ferrari is him going to Williams.
That would be fun. I do like the idea of him going to Williams, actually. Return to Williams and make it a championship winning car.
Yes, probably not with Logan Sargent.
No. Although he wasn't fired at the end of this race, so
at time of recording, Logan Sargent is still
true.
Williams
it has been 2 days since the Grand Prix. And Logan Sargent still has a seat, so there we go.
It would be interesting if he goes to Williams. I would, for the sake of, that would be a very DTS kind of twist. I mean, him already leaving Red Bull is massive. Speaking of Williams and people who were involved with Williams, Claire Williams was in the paddock this weekend.
Oh, I should know that.
And she was actually at Williams' garage. She was just hanging out.
Makes sense, yeah.
She was just hanging out, which is nice. But there's option number 4 for Adrian Newey, who says he wants to go anywhere. Apparently, he bought a big boat, a big yacht. What's the pronunciation?
Big old yacht.
A big boat.
Jesus Y-O-T, yacht.
Yacht. Jos Verstappen. Yacht Verstappen.
Get yourself there.
Sorry. Who says he wants to go anywhere? Who says he will join any team? He might want to spend time with his family.
Yeah, he might just want to retire.
Yeah, it's fair. That wouldn't surprise me all that much. Sure, he's competitive. And Brundle said, he loves regulation changes. Then I think Horner said, he hates regulation changes. So apparently, for the guy who's like the most decorated person in F1 history, I think that's a very safe...
They definitely... I remember them putting up lots of stats. He has done a lot.
Who knows? He's entitled to do whatever he wants, honestly. He will go to F1 Academy.
Oh, God. Yeah, I could just see him working on F4 cars.
which are stock anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So what's he going to do to it?
Well, I think I mentioned that before, and I think that's a pretty good idea. We should send to FIA. Adrian Newey should be like it should be like a wind tunnel and CFD. Every team should have access to an Adrian Newey.
They have an Adrian Newey allocation.
If he's the kingmaker, let's just keep him that way. Yeah, it should be like that. Yeah, you have. That would be pretty funny.
You have also failed to mention the second, in my opinion, the second most likely place he'll go after Ferrari.
Are you saying Aston Martin? Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah, Aston Martin. I mean, if anyone has the money to...
Adrian Newey doesn't... I mean, obviously he wants to have...
he doesn't care about money. I mean, he might. You don't know. As you said, for one of the most famous people in the sport, we actually know very little about him.
But then he would have to deal with Lance Stroll.
That's true. And there's only
and that is with both of them. I don't know which one is more insufferable. Yeah, I don't think this is extremely likely. The only thing that's actually... I'm sure there's always this idea you can build something again from the ground up. And the money, but I don't know if I'd enjoy working with those people. Those people.
Those people.
Canadians.
The Stroloviches.
Yeah, I know people will think, also, they can't... I mean, yeah, obviously he doesn't have to be his salary doesn't have to count towards the cost cap. Does it? I think someone explained that to me. I'm not sure if it's 100% true. If it is, we'll probably find a source to.
That feels nuts. Like, okay, drivers' salaries already not being included, that's a thing.
Yeah, and I think
Chief technical officer not being included?
Some top employees, and I think because he had that title and he was technically a contractor, that's why he actually doesn't have a garden leave. It's not nothing... There isn't that. You remember when the McLaren announced they poached those guys last year and they wouldn't start until January. Well, he apparently is still working in the road car that Red Bull is making. God knows why.
Yeah, the RB17 supercar. Yeah.
Who would want that?
Maybe it's to compete in WEC. I don't know.
Adrian Newey, God bless you. We
will
be
everyone.
We will be following his character development or his villain arc. I mean, Haas. Maybe he wants to move to North Carolina.
Yeah, he fancies a challenge. Yeah.
I mean, no, Haas isn't. Think which car in particular was fighting Haas's this weekend. So Haas is not. That wouldn't be that much of a challenge anymore.
No, I think that's more the side of
to
how far Mercedes have fallen.
He can't go to Haas because they don't have a place for him on the pit wall because they have that narrow, small, little, dinky pit wall. Don't they? They only have 3 seats or something.
That's weird. I thought those were standard. I guess there's no reason for them to be standard. They put their own equipment up there. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, all the CNC silly things. I don't think it's Aston Martin. He'd love to work with Alonso, wouldn't he?
I bet he would work. I bet he would.
Anyway, that's Adrian Newey news. Newey news.
The newsy.
Shall we talk about the weekend?
I suppose we better start, hadn't we?
All right. I have I drafted an order of teams, and that was a very unhinged process that went into that. So there is no chance in hell you'll guess.
Okay.
So,
I won't bother then.
Are you looking at the script? Because
I am looking at the script.
Okay, good. Haas. We were talking about Haas.
We were talking about Haas briefly.
Haas. I don't want to do the Haas pun like the Haas scored points, but they have.
Yeah. They did do that.
The grand total of 2 points, if I'm saying things correctly. Which Haas is currently what 5th, 6th fastest. They are very strongly in the midfield. You can expect they only. Out of 6 races this season, they scored in 4. And we were saying about, I think we've mentioned that, there are 4 teams you would expect to score every single time. Probably the 9th scoring position is going to be Fernando, and there's this kind of bum fight for the 10th. And that consistently has been Haas just,
Haas are kind of winning that fight.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get to winning and points because they are slightly behind your favorite team. I mean, the team with your favorite driver. Should I?
Yes.
No, they are they're outscoring Haas by quite a margin. But they have to lead over remaining teams, 3 remaining teams. One of them actually scored something this weekend, which was shocking. But I do want to talk about Kevin Magnussen because that was quite a appalling performance all round.
Yes. I'm genuinely surprised that he wasn't black flagged. We've not seen one of those in a very long time.
I tried to look it up, and there aren't. There is no, or I couldn't find it in the 5 minutes I spent doing this, any actual list of all the black flags in F1 history. The most recent I could find was Juan Pablo Montoya. He had a bit of a streak, I think, in the early 2000s because I think he was black flagged like 2 races in a row, including that infamous something we mentioned last week as well. So his spare chassis last week or the week before, his spare chassis when he just left the car on the grid because it didn't work or something.
So he just left it there.
Yeah, he just left you. You legged it to the pits for the spare car. Those were the times. And
those were the days.
Giancarlo Fisichella apparently was black flagged. It was, but all of that was like mid 2000s, almost 20 years ago.
I remember Michael Schumacher was black flagged at one point.
He was disqualified.
I don't know if that was late 90s, so.
I think that was the pre-Dominator Schumacher. He was disqualified from the drivers, but I don't think there was actual black flag involved. But yeah, you're right, we haven't seen it for a while, and I think had he done something massively stupid, Magnussen, like absolutely crash into someone and then punch them in the face. No, you can't crash into someone and punch them in the face. Well, then if you're crashed out, you were not getting black flagged, obviously.
Yeah.
But, because that's what George did in Imola a couple of years back, didn't he?
Did he actually punch Valtteri?
Yeah, well, he slapped him in the face, in the helmet. It wasn't Schumacher-like punch.
Right,
Or
yeah.
but it was Lance Stroll didn't get. You can't get black flag for like shoving people and being a all around prick. But yeah, it was just death by 1,000 cuts in a way, just doing stupid fucking things. And there is this driving standards, and if that wasn't violating the standards that people are supposed to, the pinnacle of motorsport. And that was just appalling all around. And I understand driving, and he was so blatant about it. I mean, okay, it's good for him to be honest, but it was such a I don't know. He became a villain this weekend, I suppose. It was easier to understand when he was just he knew he had a penalty and was holding everyone in Saudi. Sure, that was a luck of the draw. He was in a position to do that. But what he's been doing. Okay, let's recap. I'll go to FIA documents and let's just see how many times they mentioned car 20.
Car 20, yeah.
That's okay. Let's go through all of them. First of all, if you go to FIA documents, so the first one is the first one, alleged unsportsmanlike behavior. We'll get to that in a second. The next three are leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage, leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage, and leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. They actually numbered them. It's 1, 2, 3. And then next one is leaving the track without a justifiable reason multiple times. Then it's another that's decision on alleged unsportsmanlike behavior. Then it's entering pit lane during safety car period. That was actually quite funny because they announced in a very clunky way because the pit lane wasn't closed.
No, it wasn't, but he dn't stop for tyres, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like that. Yeah.
And that was an infringement and causing a collision. That's just my Adobe PDF reader is just, running K-Mag right now. He got 10 seconds into penalty points for destroying Logan Sargent's race and dreams. Mm-hmm. He got drive-through for entering pits, not changing tires.
How did you do that?
That was just a race. And then we had 3 instances of just being a menace during the sprint. Jesus Christ, I know we've seen, it was Ocon, wasn't it? Just, they seem to be...
You get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty.
It was starting position, then it's having a penalty incorrect.
Incorrect starting position,
It was a whole lot of things, and it was like, okay, bad luck, like, okay, a little thing here and there. K-Mag was just driving like a, I don't want to use the word. Haas, they've had quite a bit of people like them, but Jesus Christ, K-Mag, that was... There's no wonder your teammate has a seat and you don't for next season. You might not get. Because, yeah, sure, it's cute when you're just helping your teammates score points, but there's only so many times you can actually do that.
There's a limit, dude. There's a limit.
He's got how many? He's got 10 penalty points.
Wow.
Scoring 2 points. And I know that stewards, you remember when there was this French strike in Australia last year? What? And that was Ocon, wasn't he? He was had they given him actual points he deserved that time, he would end up with a race ban.
Yeah.
Oh, he was also speeding in the pit lane in Bahrain. That's why.
Oh, right.
Can I get your shit together? Oh, don't. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not my carbon fiber flying around. Although, if people in Miami, the last time someone did a lockout driver dirty, it was Timo Glock in Brazil. So that kind of gives you an idea that despite Santa mural in Miami this weekend, a very nice start. I don't think local fans were that concerned with Logan Sargent. We'll get back to Logan Sargent in a bit. No, Williams is next.
Williams is next.
Oh my god. Logan Sargent, let's start with positives. There aren't that many because Williams aren't showing many signs of improvement.
Williams have been kind of not all there last couple of races.
Yeah, because usually you would see like, okay, Alex is still out qualifying and outdoing Logan. But he was, it seemed to me at least at the same sort of stage of last season, Albon was sniffing points regularly, or more regularly, or was close to points. And obviously Sargent is nowhere near them, and neither is... We're talking about sort of pecking order, like how likely you are to score points. And I think like V-Carb and God forbid Alpine, the closer to the field, they're more likely to pick up points if someone implodes.
Yeah, I think Williams have dropped off a bit behind those two now.
Because
it was Williams for a while who was the
team. Yeah, it was. You would expect Alex last season.
Well, Alex Albon anyway.
In Silverstone, he did very well. In Austin, they both scored. So, and Williams were consistently, okay, you know what? I have 23 points with me somewhere. That's why you keep spreadsheets, mate. That's why you do that.
That is why you keep spreadsheets.
Williams. Okay, they scored in Bahrain. They waited a bit but then they scored in Canada. In Silverstone. Okay, they scored in 8 races out of 23. So in 22. So in a little over They were scoring a little more often than every 3 races. They had 3 races in a row when they scored. Yes, and some of that was, hinging on people yeeting themselves into barriers or something like that. But they were there, and they're not there anymore, I would say.
No.
And Logan Sargent was 10th in the sprint. Sure.
Yeah, that was something.
Lando, obviously, would have probably been ahead of him. Lance Stroll maybe would have been ahead of him, but he qualified 19th. He gained 9 positions in the sprint. So it wasn't just...
Damn.
Yeah.
Got that home race feeling, except it was the home sprint race feeling.
He was less than 5 seconds behind Yuki, and Yuki was 8th.
Wow.
Yeah.
God damn.
Oh yeah,
Where
obviously.
did he pull
Sorry.
that out from?
Let's also remember that Lewis got 20 seconds slapped on top of.
Right. Yeah.
But again, you have to be in it to sniff points. I said sniff points like 3 times.
You have said sniff points a lot. But yeah, he was there and he was ready to take advantage of the fact that Lewis got a 20-second penalty.
Lando wasn't, and Alonso was also 17th. 16th, 17th, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso. Like, something went massively wrong. And last person, Kevin Magnussen, for fuck's sake.
It's McLaren 2009.
All over again. Fighting for P16 in Miami. Like, this is a fever dream. Well, he didn't do much better he out-qualified Danny Rick and Magnussen Zhou in quali proper, and then he was yeeted out by K-Mag in the race, which was unfair. Because I think he was running quite okay.
Yeah, he was doing all right. And then K-Mag stuck his nose where it didn't belong.
It was...
Bang. Down he went.
It was a turn 3, wasn't it? It was in the first
That was, I think, yeah.
It was just again, K-Mag just doing weird shit that you can't really explain.
No, it's like,
sorry.
You don't put your nose up the inside there. That's not turn 3 is not an overtaking corner. Like, what are you doing?
I know you're like, you want something like someone goes on the outside of Eau Rouge, like, okay, that's bold, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on the left-hand side. Yeah, that's like, but you have to be, Ferrari, Red Bull, good McLaren driver, or something like that to have a chance. There is a reason why K-Mag... I'm sorry, no, I'm slagging him. He did get a podium in his first race in F1, didn't he?
That was his only podium ever, though. And I think we've mentioned that before as well, but yeah,
that's why I
very
remember.
funny.
So we might need to update our roster of how likely a driver is to get a seat next season. I think K-Mag's chances took a mighty turn for the worse.
Yeah, I don't think they're very good to start with, but...
Yeah, no,
still,
if wherever they were, ironically, because I feel bad for him, I would say Logan Sargent deserves to be on next year's grid more than Kevin Magnussen. Because Logan Sargent, the very
Somebody
least...
called James Cameron, the bar is so deep in the ocean.
Pretty much, yeah. In the race, Alex Albon ended up 18th because his tyres weren't really there, and he ended up having to stick softs for the very, very, very end. But ironically, his lap was he had the second fastest lap of the race. I mean, his fastest lap was second.
Yeah, I mean, if you stop for softs in the last few laps,
yes.
Yeah, that does tend to happen.
If only there were points, even if you end up like P19 for the fastest lap.
Yeah.
Speaking of
which, one of the commentators did mention that. Was it Martin Brundle?
There is this idea. I do want to mention that.
The idea of points all the way down. I think it should be P1 gets 20 points, P20 gets 1 point.
Oh well, that would. I'm all up for shaking things up. That's why I don't mind all the fiddling with sprints and so on. Mm-hmm. Do I like this? Do we want this? Points scoring
it
means...
would make it a lot closer.
I mean, yeah, there would be fights all around. That would definitely make it more enticing. Because,
the championships will be more unpredictable, I'll say that.
Yeah, and obviously the gap there's 7 points between first and second, right?
And it would make DNFs far more punishing, actually.
Yeah, because you lose chance to score even slightest bit. Mm-hmm. For someone who likes statistics, it already infuriates me that there's been so many point systems over the entire F1 history. We should go back to top 6 on the scoring points.
I was watching a great video that explained that perfectly the other day. Well, he explained the problems he was having the other day. It was a video on the premise of what would F1 championships look like if it implemented the rule from F2. So you win a championship and you're banned. You can never race in F1 again. And it's like all of those drivers in the 1950s who shared a car and then raced in multiple cars in the same race. Like, really?
Yeah, that sport was a bit of a mess. It's much cleaner now.
Oh,
unless K-Mag is in the vicinity, then the carbon fiber will be spread all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Alex Albon need not to worry. He is He's doing his very
he's
best.
fairly safe, yeah.
I would say. I was surprised to find out he's my age.
Really?
Roughly my age. He's 28. Anyway, Williams. Well, Claire Williams was in the garage, so, It wasn't the worst garage visit this weekend, and I'm not sure if I want to talk about that, to be honest.
No, we'll just skip right over that.
Okay, good. I'm very pleased because I have many opinions.
Yeah. What's it? Alex qualified Q2 for
and
every single time this season.
I do want to have that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. 8 drivers this season who always finished quality in the same session. There are 2 more drivers who've made it all the time to the same session, but both of them missed out on one. One of them being Carlos Sainz, and he actually has been in every single Q3. And the other one, Logan Sargent, because they stole his chassis in Australia. And he was knocked out in Q1 every single time. The other drivers who are very consistent are Zhou, never made it in Q2, and Albon, who always makes it in Q2, never makes it in Q3. Yeah, again, he is extracting as much as he can.
I think he's absolutely rinsing that car for all it's got, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't recall James Vowles saying anything about upgrades. I'm sure there is some coming, but they're not making big song kind of dance about any of that. It was frustrating about,
It's a shame because we've seen how well bringing upgrades can work for some teams.
Yeah, from some legacy teams, sure. Mm-hmm. I still would like to remind people how Aston Martin brought upgrades last year that made the car slower. That was
very funny.
So we have to be careful. Next on the line is Red Bull, ironically.
Red Bull, there we go.
Red Bull, who actually had upgrades in China, and apparently Adrian Newey said there isn't much more to be extracted from that car this season. Ooh.
Bum, bum, bum.
What I did actually hate quite a bit was all the talk of, oh no, Red Bull is already doing so badly. Adrian Newey barely he's still in the pit wall, still with the team.
Yeah, he's still working
but
with the team.
And just the mention of him resigning, it just destroyed the entire team. They're imploding as we speak. Milton, I can see mushroom cloud on the horizon. That's probably Milton Keynes.
Damn.
No, that's just Croydon, and that's normal.
Ah, well, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. And it was not missed.
And nothing of value was lost.
Oh, no, the tram system. That's
the tram system. And the IKEA, yeah. There's the closest IKEA to mine, so.
Yeah, but IKEAs are replaceable.
You can order online, sure.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about that? Red Bull's washed. Red Bull washed in capitals.
In fairness, I was going to say, it seemed like it. It didn't seem like it. It seemed like it from one perspective.
In sprint
Sergio Perez was nowhere.
Yes. In sprint qualifying for 2 sessions, it seemed like, something interesting might happen, and then it didn't. And Max
actually, that's kind of why I'm even hesitant to talk about the sprint. Because I looked at the sprint qualifying results. 1, 2, 3, Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez. Sprint results. 1, 2, 3. Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez. Just looking at results and go, anyway, what's the race doing?
But it didn't. It seemed like there's going to be something else. The graphic of, was it Norris over Verstappen dominant? I have that picture. Obviously, I took a picture of that.
Of course you have that picture.
Of course I took a picture of that. I took quite a few pictures of my telly, like an old person, this weekend. Yeah. So, yeah. So, it seemed like this very familiar song. Red Bull might not be on the pole. Maybe it's not the best track for them. Maybe they didn't get the setup right. Max has been complaining about things. There's always those nuggets of hope.
Hopium.
Maybe. It rarely pans out. I think, Australia was a fluke and Singapore was a disaster. We could see coming from a long way. But let's talk about Sergio, because you're right, not only he was nowhere, how many times have you seen the replay of what he did in turn 1 during the race?
Where
of him
nearly
being relegated to F4 Somalia or something, because that was... we were talking about Kevin Magnussen being a menace. But what Sergio Perez almost did, it's one thing when you eat yourself in front of your home crowd. That was stupid. You almost took your teammate with you.
Oh... It was so close.
It was close.
So
the Max's face when he got to see that in the cooldown.
Yeah, in the cooldown room.
That was very telling, because he obviously had no idea that happened.
No, and they wouldn't tell him, because why would they tell him that?
And Sergio just, stuck behind Lando, fighting with Lando. Lando was closing in on him. So yeah, Perez wasn't really making any impression. He took himself out of contention for the victory pretty quickly. He was just involved in fighting for P4, P5. with Lando. And after the pit stop, after everything sort of panned out, he had Hamilton sort of closing in on him.
Yeah, kind of, but not really.
He finished P4. That was a fluke. Well, not really fluke, but he inherited that from Carlos. But that was a pretty dismal sort of... We've mentioned it before. Oh yeah, Perez is finishing second. He qualifies second or third. That's as solid as you expect him. I'm not saying this particular performance is going to cost him his seat, but when they will look at the entire sort of body of work, this kind of stuff is not going to necessarily
go in his favour.
Yes, exactly. He was, less than 2 seconds ahead of Lewis.
And that Mercedes, which is an absolute tractor at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it is a tractor, but it's a bit... It's whimsical because it seems to be working sometimes, and they don't know why and how. But not great, Sergio, which was basically also his kind of home race.
Max, what's he doing?
What was Max doing? Well, Max was keeping healthy-ish lead over Oscar, which was 3-ish seconds. But that wasn't massively increasing. Like, Oscar was... I don't know if it's testament to Max not being very, very fast, or Oscar just doing a very good job.
He said, wearing his Oscar Piastri polo.
Shh. That's why we don't have a video in this. He's lying. Yeah. And then, how much are we going to, claim that his collision with the bollard, which looked it was a bit of a slapstick, because it looked quite funny, but then then you realize, it was, first of all, it was stuck a little bit, but F1 cars, sure, you're supposed to have air, sweeping through it. You don't really design it to have big, sturdy things just being lodged in there. And I think we weren't far off from this thing being stuck somewhere, which would be incredibly funny. But then again, I think the outcome of the race would have been sort of tempered by the enjoyment.
Yeah.
But are you giving much credit to the theory that the performance of the Red Bull car was hindered by Max? I mean, he caused it because it was his fault. That he carried a bit of a floor damage too.
No, because he said that the car wasn't damaged.
I've heard that it was. I think Red Bull was saying that it actually was.
Because I think Verstappen said that it wasn't and it was fine.
Yeah, just to clarify what Max did. Why is leading the race?
Yeah, he was leading the race, yeah.
He went on a little bit of there's this tighty little chicane at the exit side of Sector 2, which, by the way, it's not the worst piece of racetrack I've ever seen. It is actually, maybe it's the same thing with Baku, I'm getting used to this circuit, I'm sort of, season by season, saying, okay, fine, it's not that terrible. Especially Sector 1, which is really sweeping and fast. I hate this, but I'm warming myself to this race. Not, to go there, but it might not be as shit as it seemed at this time.
Yeah, I mean, all good race circuits have a little chicane.
You should be allowed to have a little chicane.
You should be able to have a little chicane as a treat, a bit of chicanery, if you will.
Max just went, just left the track, collected the bollard, and left it on the track at the start of the back straight. It is a back straight.
Yeah, is that the back straight, or is that? I guess
I think the definition of the back straight is very.
The back straight is whatever straight isn't the pit straight that you want to refer to at any given time.
Very good. And he left the ball out there, and they have to throw the VAC, which was very brief. Few drivers benefited from that. Alonso and Magnussen.
Yeah, so a few people dived in.
But it was very quick. It wasn't even a full lap, so I think...
Yeah, you had to, be there to take advantage of it.
And, very, very quick, very agile... it wasn't Marshall, was it? Stewart just ran in, gathered all the pieces
just
that...
grabbed it, ran away again. Yeah.
The VAC, by Max. Front runners didn't have a chance to actually benefit from that. Alonso and K-Max, so people who finished... Well, Alonso finished 9th, good for him. And K-Max who ended up 19th last on the road. Very good. Right, and that was Max, and Max didn't make any impression there. I was watching FP1. Well, it shouldn't be called FP1, it should be called just FP.
I was watching FP.
Because it was it's the good thing about the race. Maybe the actual race was a bit late, and I stayed up very late. I think I went to bed. I think I fell asleep 2 a.m. on Monday.
Yeah, well, yes.
And I did have a day off on Monday. And so FP1 was at a very sort of convenient time, so I did watch it. I usually don't bother. Charles Leclerc.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Poor old Chuck.
Would you like to explain to our listeners what Chuck Leclerc did within first 5-6 minutes of the only practice session?
It was about 5 or 6 minutes into the only practice session they were going to get that weekend. and he span it off the curb and put it sideways under the bridge at a very narrow part of the circuit and fully Austin Powers himself in there.
Yeah, you can wedge your car.
Could he, once he tried to maneuver himself around, could he get it back into reverse? No, he couldn't, because the gearbox overheated and he couldn't get it back into reverse and had to get recovered.
Congratulations, Charles Leclerc. That was such a... And that wasn't even the worst. Their weekend, their entire week was kind of... The beginning was kind of shit. Because they also showed their American racing, the very vintage, very sort of old-timey livery, inspired by, supposedly. And it was kind of shit. It was...
Yeah.
It was very underwhelming.
People have said, we shouldn't have been surprised, because every time Ferrari have done a special livery, it's just a little dash of something else on top of their standard livery. Like, you remember back in 2020, when they did the special... No, you wouldn't do, because you didn't watch it. They did a special, 50 years, Ferrari F1 heritage one when they were at Mugello, which they don't normally race at.
Yeah.
Great circuit, by the way. And it was just a little bit of scarlet, a little bit of maroony scarlet on the back, and that was kind of it. The back third was a sort of darky kind of maroon colour.
They had that yellow thing. It was last year.
They had the kind of... That's a little bit yellow. That's exactly what I mean, though.
So
people are the Ferrari's going to be blue.
They also go...
it won't.
But they also go all in on teamwear and suits, and it's just...
They did look great. I still want one of those. They sold out instantly. I want one of those
I can see
blue
that,
Ferrari
because
shirts.
It's a nice shade. It would actually...
It's wearable. It's fully wearable, yeah.
Yeah, just go all in. Yeah, you don't have to be... I know, it's Ferrari. Which is weird, because when you think about their logo, there isn't much red in the actual...
No, there isn't any red in their logo, is there? There's,
isn't there Italian flag on the very top? Isn't there
there might be. I'm thinking about just
the badge, yeah, sure.
With the white outline, yellow box with a black horse.
Yeah. So yeah, it's baffling. They did the yellow thing. The Vegas one, there was the white.
Again,
yeah,
nothing.
It's just
they're always primarily Ferrari Corsa red.
Yeah, but it seems like of all the top teams, okay, Mercedes doesn't do special liveries anymore because they brought them back bad luck every single time. Red Bull, they didn't do anything interesting.
Red Bull did the white one at Japan.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, that was very good. McLaren, they're doing such great special liveries. It's a shame they don't keep them permanently.
Yeah,
Golf livery was amazing.
The triple crown livery was pretty good.
And then they did the Chrome.
Probably one of the weakest they've done, but it was still really good.
Yeah, I did love the Chrome livery. It was amazing.
I just wish they really, really committed to it. Full 2008, Vodafone Chrome.
It was pretty close. It wasn't just red; it was papaya when it was supposed to be red, roughly.
Yeah.
It
wasn't quite full chrome enough, but it was pretty chromy. Yeah.
They should do it again in Silverstone when they win the race there.
Someone's getting ahead of themselves.
Someone's jinxing shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, the beginning.
He's put the hopium down, folks. He's fully riding the high of I don't know what you even call that.
In sprint quali, Charles Leclerc second, Carlos Sainz fifth, the driver 55. I do need to talk about Carlos. So in the sprint proper, Carlos didn't get through your favorite driver, Daniel Ricciardo, and that was a bit of a preview for the race, maybe, it's not that easy to overtake. I know they did mention the broadcast, the previous season that we've seen quite a few overtakes. It got better during the race, obviously,
yeah,
but the sprint was quite uneventful.
There really were only two proper overtaking points.
Yeah.
And that was the end of a back straight. And
turn 11
into turn 11, yeah.
Or if you're K-Mag,
people calling them mid straight.
Or if you're K-Mag, just fucking anywhere you want, go for it.
True, yeah. I'll be inside of turn 3. Why not?
And Carlos Sainz third, and Charles second in quali proper race.
Ferrari certainly had a race.
They got split by Oscar. Well, we get to Oscar in just a little bit. And Charles Oscar used DRS and just overtook him.
Just jumped him,
Yeah. And Carlos was on the radio. He's faster. I'm faster. Just let's swap. And they weren't willing to do that. I wonder why. But then again, if Ferrari lets their drivers race, it is inches from disaster anyway. So there.
What was that show? Moments from Disaster.
Oh, I
It was
love
like on Bravo or something, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just like you could just have the whole show being just Leclerc and Sainz. Just
Yeah, and the way
the
the
would
countdown,
be
that
the
was
show.
super exciting. Oh gosh, I need to find somewhere on streaming. I can't believe it must be somewhere. Sorry, where were we? Ferrari driving a hideous car. Martin Brown was trying to say, "Oh, it looks better in person." Like, we and Martin, we can't all go to fucking Miami. Danica Patrick can.
Yeah, wow.
Oh yeah, Carlos Sainz was on the radio. He was on the radio the whole fucking time, complaining, wanting to swap positions, and then he understood into Oscar Piastri. And well, first of all, I had a bit of a thing in turn 11. Well, supposedly Piastri pushed him off, and then all drivers first, they will always come on the radio and say, "Oh, it's not my fault. You pushed me." Obviously, that's one. And the second, yeah, they do. We can watch the replay and we see it. But then again, being so bitchy. Or maybe the TV director did him dirty and just, every single time he came on the radio, he put that on. But it was a bit like, mate, it's over. And I think the simple message back to Piastri from the pit wall was like, yeah, Sainz says you should give the position back. We don't agree, or something like this. Very just
I
don't
think it was like Ferrari think you should give the position back. We don't agree. Like, yeah.
And they were right. There was no further investigation. And then Sainz understated him whilst trying to overtake. And on the replay, that front wing was massively bent, and Oscar lost another 2 positions to... It was Perez and Hamilton, wasn't it? Straight in, same lap, and that was a... There was an end-play missing, and that whole wing was just basically broken.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So that was a lot of time in the pits, and that's basically his race ruined.
Yeah. We'll get...
He did manage to clamber back up to P13, but...
And it was the fastest lap, and yeah, it is a shame. And that was we're talking McLaren now, and I don't want to go to the Carlos Sainz. Also, I think he was, after the race is finished, he was on the radio saying, or maybe it was a post-race interview, he said like, "Oh, if the safety car had come one lap," I think he pitted and the safety car came out straight after that. So, he missed out. But he was trying to make a point like, had he gotten a little bit more lucky, he would have won the race. No, I don't think so. I think Carlos is being a bit delusional.
He's a bit delulu.
And the huge chunk of my sympathy for him kind of evaporated this weekend. Not just because he ruined Oscar's race. It seemed kind of bitter, like it was kind of passive aggressive to some extent, I think. Oh,
yeah.
We would have won.
The one I did like though is like when Sainz was on the radio and he's like, "Just tell Oscar if he gives the position back, he will not get a penalty." It's like, the negotiator.
Yeah, well, yeah. What the fuck was that? Like that was very, 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 very disappointing. P5 in the end. His teammate P3 on the podium.
Yeah. Finished P4 on track, we should add.
P4
on track, and then got a 5-second penalty for busting up Oscar's wing, causing a collision.
All right, who's next? Aww.
You know who's next.
I was a very random order. I will explain the logic later. But all right,
yeah.
I have a question, and I don't know the answer. And you've been watching F1 for way longer than I have. Do you remember a quali, a non-wet quali, normal-ish quali session? And I know it was a sprint quali, but then a kind of qualifying session where the softest tire wasn't the fastest.
Yes, but it was a while ago.
All right.
And I don't quote me on this. I think it was one of the US Grand Prix from like a while ago.
Okay, 2005 when everything imploded.
No, not that one. Not that one. Ding, that's another that's another thing to go along with Singapore 2008. Abu Dhabi 2021. No, it might have been like 2018, 2019, something like that.
Oh, we'll look it up
and
later.
I think the temperature was so insane on the track.
Oh, the
soft tires just melted.
It wasn't dissimilar to that situation, basically. It was. Yeah. It's not an abrasive track. It's the tire.
COTA is, or was anyway.
Miami isn't very abrasive. It's about temperatures mostly. So the fastest time in sprint qualifying was Lando Norris in SQ2 on mediums, which it's worth noting. Okay, that's one bit. We were talking about Oscar Piastri, who was running behind Max in the race. He drove a very smart... Again, he got a bit lucky with...
I think the furthest he got behind was 4 seconds.
Max wasn't pulling... he was pulling away, but it wasn't tenths.
No, it was like tenths.
But single tenths, not 5. He did dispatch Charles with DRS. It took him a while, but he did eventually. And he got undercut by Leclerc. That was a bit. We're being told the entire weekend like the undercut isn't very powerful here. Apparently, you can do that.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter if your teammate is going.
It's not very powerful, but it does seem to work.
Yes, it doesn't matter anyway because your teammate is going to ruin that guy's race anyways. You might as well. It was an insight.
As long as you're not bitter about it, that's the important thing.
And then Oscar, pitted for new front wing, got some new boosts on, and just did the fastest lap of the race with half of the upgrades. What was and he did score.
The other half on now.
He might be one of the few people who scored points. No, he didn't score in the race.
No, he didn't score in the race.
Shoot. Well, but until before the race, he was one of the few people who scored every single session, every single sprint and race this season. Because his teammate obviously didn't, because he got yeeted out by Hamilton into Alonso into Stroll. No, Hamilton into Stroll into Alonso.
Yeah.
They were sprint, wide into turn one.
They were 4 wide. Hamilton was a little bit cheeky. He did chuck it up. He knew what was going to happen when he chucked it up the inside. He has 15 years of experience at least.
Pretty much.
Actually, he's got 17 years of experience in F1. That's alarming.
A lot. His experience will be able to buy alcohol soon. Mm-hmm. Or, well, he already could in Germany, I think.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what the law is over there, but yeah.
Where were we? Oscar Piastri. And he scored points in the sprint, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he was stuck in that Ricciardo train.
And it was a train.
It was a train because Carlos Sainz wasn't able to get past Daniel Ricciardo. Again, experience. Oh, we'll get to Daniel Ricciardo in a bit. I'm sure you want to talk about him.
Oh, yeah.
So, McLaren shows up. Okay, we're not going to... Okay, we'll mention this because I think for the record we should. I have a lot of feelings about this. And all of them are negative, but we should mention at the very least that yes, former US President Donald J. Trump was present during the race. He was actually, when they were singing the anthem, he was nearby because he was hanging out with FIA president. Obviously they would hang out. Mm-hmm. And apparently I don't know what was the communication, but FIA, my understanding is because McLaren...
as far as I understand, he was a guest of Liberty Media.
Yes, and Liberty... Well...
And they basically chose a garage for him to go to.
Yes, and McLaren accepted. I wish they hadn't, and I'm not going to burn my merch. I really wish they hadn't. I think that there are some things that are not acceptable. My US visa might get revoked if he wins in January. No, is one of his rich mates had a suite, and he intended to host a fundraiser for him. However, Miami Grand Prix organizers, they did actually... Was it a cease and desist? It was something along the lines they were not allowed to do that. And that they would cancel Guy's reservation for the suite. So they actually were quite strongly. And I think the entire situation with that was pretending like he's just a former president. And, there's dignity that goes with the office.
There was.
He did congratulate Lando after the race. Oh no, Lando won the race! What a surprise! He did. I didn't see in the broadcast. It popped up someone on Twitter. I am not pleased with any of that, and I do understand. Zach Brown took a picture with him, or they took a picture. It was quite disgusting. Let's be honest. Okay, Lando Norris gets yeeted out in the sprint. That's very upsetting. He gets 25,000.
Yes.
For crossing the.
Yep, 25,000 euros.
Euro. I think they run in euros.
Euro, yeah.
And then they also don't do very well in quali. They didn't do very well in either quali session because it seemed like he might be on course for the pole in the sprint. They qualified 5th and 6th in the quali proper, behind Red Bull, behind Ferraris. And I thought to myself, it was a slight disappointment. It seems like there was a bit more pace in there. But again, that's where you would expect them to be, the third strongest team. That's where they're supposed to be. And he doesn't get particularly lucky like Oscar did in turn 1, Sergio Perez.
We didn't mention that. Oscar played his hand beautifully.
Absolutely wonderful.
Just chucked it up the inside after all the chaos that Hamilton caused and gained how many positions was it? A lot. Three, and then four after overtaking Charles. And then 4 after getting Charles, yeah.
It was brilliant. It was amazing. That's with half the upgrades, he was sort of keeping up with Max. And Lando wasn't making amazing impression. He was cooked out. He was more in the Sergio Carlos Sainz territory, I think. And then we are having safety car, and Lando because Max had pitted, and Lando was already leading the race, it was you couldn't possibly ask for a better situation.
The timing was perfect,
especially since the safety car didn't really pick him up. They only picked up Max.
No,
so he was
I think there's
so far ahead.
Little mistake there on the part of Bernd Mailander, who sort of went to his default position of got to pick up first place. Oh, look, there's Max.
I think they just put him. He left the pits and Lando was already further up the road. There was quite a bit. There was quite a gap. So he's not going to wait for Lando to make another to do another lap. I don't know the procedures exactly. I think they were qualified. They did. There was this idea behind it. Someone mentioned that. Is Lando going to catch up with the entire pack, and then will he have effectively a full lap advantage?
Yeah, definitely not.
Definitely not, because as we know, after Abu Dhabi 2021, procedures were amended. Yes. So lapped cars, well, you're supposed...
Which they did. They all started going past.
Yeah, you're supposed to be on the same... all the cars are supposed to be on the lead lap, so...
Yeah.
Fine. And there was a restart, and Lando didn't do a very good job. That was pretty...
No, that was actually... I was very nervous on that restart.
Drivers...
Because he put his foot down and sort of Max was like, there.
Yeah, because
and I'm
either...
Oh, here we go again.
You either do it as late as possible, or you do it as early, and he was sort of left in the middle. This was the first time McLaren driver didn't do a very good job managing restart, because Oscar did kind of shoddy job in Qatar, the sprint, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they're not used to leading the race and managing restarts. And
Max they're not used to leading yet.
Max has done it so many times he can do it, in the middle of the night. But then I don't say miracle, because that's a 10 fucking upgrades actually working. And what was mentioned all the times, it's not only you bringing upgrades, you're bringing upgrades at the models and the wind tunnel, and you put them on a car and they work. Magic.
Aston Martin.
Mercedes. They had upgrades.
Yeah, true. I mean, there's only so much you can do to that Mercedes, isn't there, really? It's like, the phrase, you can't polish a turd?
Yeah, you can put some silver...
That's what they're doing with the W14.
You can put some silver paint on it.
I'm going to spray this turd silver.
And then Lando started pulling a gap.
Oh, did he ever?
And I was so nervous. Again...
they kept almost doing a commentary curse on him as well.
They were stopping...
And Martin Brundle kept saying, we need to stop talking about this. We need to stop.
Martin Brundle. And, they're supposed to be impartial. Oh, they're not supposed to root for British drivers. But the outcome is... There wasn't a single person... Okay, Logan Sarah probably was sad, but he had his reason. There wasn't a single driver that was... that it's from Fallout, wasn't it? Everybody liked that. It was... When Ocon won in Hungary 3 years ago, it was a fluke. It was wholesome, but it was like... It didn't feel like, he worked so hard, he had, close calls. He took a chance in a bizarre race, and he won, and he fought his way to that P1. When Gasly won Monza, I didn't watch that, luckily, but I guess that was also a bit of a... That
was fun, actually. That was a really fun race.
But again, it was an outlier. It wasn't like, he's got a pace and he needs to... And Lando, and I had visions of Russia 21.
And they kept saying, folks, there's no rain in sight.
Yes! It was I'm sure there are some people who dislike Lando for whatever reason. And again, I think he'd bully me if we went to school together. But again, it was still half race still to go. Well, not really half, but close half race still to go.
Slightly under half, yeah.
And the gap kept increasing, and Martin Brundle was just telling everyone to shut up, basically. And the gap...
no, talk about anything else.
Can we talk about anything else? That was a lovely quote. Can we talk about anything else?
And for a while they did. They were talking about the Piastri ahead of Sainz, yeah.
Yeah, well, they provide some entertainment, but there were... And I think even the TV director wasn't on the screen a whole lot. And this idea that the pit wall is manager, that is Will Joseph, isn't it? Mm. It's some stars for Oscar. So Will was just coaching him like any other race. There is no one in front, because that's just such a big gap. The car in front, oh my god, it was...
And then every now and then they would do an occasional shot, especially towards the end of a race, where they would have Lando go around a corner and he'd see just an empty straight, and I went, oh boy.
On the back straight, you could see sort of Max in the distance, out of focus.
Towards the end of the race, not even that, he would go around that top corner and there would be a gap before Max appeared, and I went, oh man.
And then he won the race, and that was delightful. I was very happy. I was very happy. I was very excited. Everyone was happy, and everyone, even Carlos Sainz, like I think he came to his senses, he wouldn't want that race. And the question that many questions is it McLaren's renaissance now? Is there going to be a fight? Because we're still early in the season. Mm-hmm. There still could be something afoot, and I'm on the side of things like Imola is a different beast. Although McLaren historically, Lando
especially has historically done quite well at Imola.
2 podiums in the last 2 races in Imola.
Yeah.
Then we're going to Monaco, which is unfortunately a bit of a...
Monaco is Monaco.
Monaco is Monaco. Like,
qualify first, win.
Unless you shout like...
Yeah, unless you... Oof.
But then we're going to what? We're going to Canada, which isn't dissimilar to it's Canada after that, isn't it? There's Canada, Spain, I think Austria, and the entire European swing. Then it will be interesting to see them on a different track characteristic. If this is a consistent when they can keep up with Max and capitalize on Max to put the pressure on him, basically. Max being
make it an interesting season.
Yes.
God.
And who knows what might happen
Which
again.
is very different from what we were saying at our first proper episode at Bahrain.
Maybe we're
this is going to be another Max dominant season, and we might as well tune out now. I've never been more glad to be wrong. Holy shit!
We're 6 races again. That's the statistics, and it's just another form of lying. But 6 races, sure. Red Bull won 4 of them, but this time last season, Red Bull had a clean sweep. It wasn't Singapore when someone actually did something, and McLaren got slightly more slippery. They weren't so dreadfully slow down the straight.
No.
Still a bit iffy.
Yeah, I mean, he's going, but yeah. You wouldn't think, by the way, that this was unexpected and really happy news, because I've just checked the BBC Sport F1 page. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different articles about Lando's win.
Yeah, I think all of them written by Andrew Benson. He's the F1 correspondent.
One of them certainly is, I can see that.
Too early to call if this is a McLaren sort of actually bring
we
the
will
fight.
see next race whether this is a continuing trend or not. Engine partner, Mercedes. From highs to lows.
Toto Wolff on the way to McLaren to take the engine away.
Give engine now.
Oh my god. Both Lewis and George were very happy for Lando. That's good for them.
Yeah, that was nice to see. Especially because, let's say, George is one of Lando's friends and he shared a rookie season with him. Yeah. And then Lewis, partially because McLaren.
Because McLaren, he has a soft spot for McLaren, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does, definitely.
He was quite happy with the Silverstone as well. I think he was very happy for them. That's nice for him. Of him. But yeah, it wasn't a good... it was another confusing performance by... They both got knocked out in SQ2. There was few hundreds between them, so there were 11, 12, and they both made in Q3 in actual quali, and there was again a few hundred between them. So at least they're evenly matched, I suppose. In the sprint, Lewis got yeeted down. He ended up 16th, and and Russell didn't really make any changes. They both way away from points behind Joe and
race,
Logan.
I think George Russell made no impact at all in the race.
In the race,
Lewis at least gained 2 positions.
In the race, Lewis 6, George 8 points.
And I mean, sure.
Bright side of things, they
were the correct side of 10th. What a statement to make about Mercedes.
They scored the entire weekend. They scored 12 points. So the same amount of points as VCarb.
Ow.
They are on the track. They're fighting very hard. And again, Lewis was on the receiving end of K-Mag's shenanigans in the sprint. But
he struggled with Hulkenberg as well.
Yeah, so he had Hasses all over him the entire weekend. Yeah. Again, what the fuck?
You could say he was up there, Haas.
All right, guys, that's it. That's a wrap. I was talking about Mercedes scoring 12 points. You know who has scored 12 points?
VCarb?
VCarb.
Yeah, you did say that earlier, actually.
I know. And you know who scored? And you know who scored 5 of them in the sprint?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to?
Daniel Ricciardo.
Why don't you recap with Danny Rick's weekend?
Well, okay. So I thought for a while that I was going to have to eat so much humble pie because he's had a really terrible season up to now. Well, but this is before the sprint. It's like he's had a really terrible season up to then. And then he turned up at Miami into sprint qualifying, and he ended up 4th. And I went, I wonder if that's a fluke. He'll probably drop down in the sprint. He's qualified ahead of himself. That's not the true pace of him and the V-carb. And then in the sprint, I mean, he formed a little bit of a train, but he was able to secure 4th place. I went, oh, no, Danny Rick isn't back. He can't be back. And immediately, everyone everywhere was like, Danny Rick is back. The redemption is on. Red Bull second driver seat confirmed, etc., etc., etc.
The cycle has been...
the cycle was initiated, and then the cycle was immediately cut short when he qualified 18th. And I went, the natural order has been restored.
the nature is healing. He was 1,500, 1,600 away from Q2, I think. And yeah, he was carrying three place grid penalty. He ended up 15th. He gained positions. However...
Well, yeah, of course. One person was knocked out of a race. Another person had to change.
Yeah, Albon
a lot
came
of
up.
parts.
Albon, Magnussen, and Sargent were all ahead of him. If I remember, no, Magnussen was behind him anyway. Was the deal? But if I can cheer you up, of all the drivers who finished, Daniel Ricciardo's had the slowest, fastest lap.
Yeah, that's what we expect. Washed.
However, he scored 5 points, and he is now. I can't be bothered to look the exact position, but he is on the board. He scored points. Good. It's not 100%. Yuki Tsunoda made points.
No, but Yuki Tsunoda did quite well this weekend.
Yuki Tsunoda did very well. I mean, he got
7th in the race.
Sorry, he didn't. He started pretty. It was a pretty dismal start because he was 15th in sprint qualifying. But he made it into 8th point. He makes it into Q3. He was actually 9th in Q2, if I'm seeing things correctly. And then again capitalized on Piastri dropping out. And Yuki ended up very much in the points. In 7th, scoring 6 points, 1 in the sprint. That's 5 points in the sprint from Danny Rick. He was almost 10 seconds behind Lewis. He was 8 seconds ahead of George Russell. So yeah, Yuki very comfortably.
So we've once again had another weekend where Yuki outscores Danny Rick.
Well, yes, but Danny Rick hadn't scored any points up until the sprint in Miami.
So once again, he's outscored Danny Rick.
Yeah, but you are sort of... Yeah, it's a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, and boy, my stick is getting tired.
Oh, there you go, Aston Martin. Lance Stroll out-qualified Fernando Alonso in the sprint quali and in actual quali.
Alonso did not necessarily turn up.
Yes, he was... It wasn't because his supposed girlfriend was supposed to be in the race. Taylor Swift was rumored to be.
Right.
Because her actual boyfriend was there. I think he's actually an investor in Alpine. This is ridiculous. He
That's disappointing.
And imagine if she showed up. I'm paraphrasing what I saw online, but imagine if she shows up and her introduction to the sport is Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Taylor Swift shows up to F1 paddock, and obviously she would be Alpine's guest. Her introduction, again, I know I said it. I want to reiterate this. Her introduction to F1, the pinnacle of motorsport, is Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. I mean, both race drivers, and I'm so glad Lando won because he is not worse
now
than...
Now at least on par with them statistically.
His P's are George Russell, Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly. Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, it was better in the race.
Alonso was too busy fighting for the rights of Spanish race drivers.
Yes, he made points. He actually ended up... Well, it was this little bit of a skirmish in the sprint with his teammate and his former teammate and his colleague, development driver whilst he was in McLaren. So there was one big happy family coming in turn 1 in the sprint.
Yeah, they had a weekend.
And, Lance DNF'd from that as well. Fernando ended up 17th in the sprint. He did recover pretty good in the race because he qualified. He qualified very lonely. Yeah, he was 15th in quali, and he actually made it to 9th. 6 positions. Well, his teammate tumbled down the order. He qualified.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Lance Stroll tumbled down the order.
Lance Stroll qualified. He was actually 200s away from Q3, whilst Fernando was 2/10ths. That was a bit of a gap between them in quali. But yeah, Lance Stroll ended up 17th.
You briefly mentioned Alpine.
Points. Do you know what's French for visible confusion?
Confusion visible.
You pronounced it wrong, but yes, the spelling is exactly the same. It's just
nice.
Order of the words is different. I did Google Translate that, and I was delighted with that.
That's why you had Google Translate open.
Yes. Confusion visible.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
I don't speak French.
Neither do I.
Points.
Points!
Yeah, well, you said points.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got ahead of myself. Esteban Ocon made it to 10th. He was second ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and 2 seconds behind Fernando Alonso. And they seemed very friendly after the race. There's a picture of them like next to each other smiling. I don't know what happened. Someone said, I think the comment someone online was like, Lando Norris's win, just everyone's healing. Peace is being brought into the paddock. And even the greatest and, most severe disagreements are all forgotten thanks to the joy and the happiness of Lando Norris winning his first race. There were signs of them doing better this weekend because if you look at their shootout, Pierre was 16th and Esteban was 13th, but it was the first time either of them made into SQ2, and it was also...
And then in the actual sprint race itself, Pierre Gasly sniffing one. He finished 9th.
Ooh, by how much?
I don't know.
It was the first. It wasn't the first. It was the second race in a row. They both made it into Q2 in the actual race, and then Gasly was 12th. Wasn't very, very, very far off Ocon. A few seconds, 5-ish seconds behind his teammate. So.
Maybe all that Brookstone Lager and Deadpool Ryan Reynolds money is finally paying off.
Kick Sauber. Oh, guys.
Yeah, they're having a time
of their life. Yeah, I think it's survival mode until 2025.
Yeah, it's like, just, God, please.
Sauber,
Audi, please.
Audi,
please.
I am going to remind everyone of 2008, where BMW had a fighting chance of winning constructors and drivers, but they switched halfway through the season to developing 2009 car, which went nowhere because that's when Brown GP showed up with double diffuser. Was it blown diffuser? Yeah.
Blown diffuser.
Yeah. So Sauber has a legacy of getting something else on their mind than current season. Maybe this is good. I'm not saying they should give up, but maybe they should give up. If they throw it, they will get like a gajillion hours of CFD and wind tunnel.
Yeah, that's something.
Save
some of their budget for next year.
Why not? At this point, just for the
do what's known as a 2020 Haas.
But did it pan out to them actually?
No. Well, I mean, it has now. It's taken 4 years to pay dividends.
Zhou and Bottas knocked down SQ1. Zhou and Bottas knocked down Q1. In the sprint, Bottas 14th, Zhou 11th.
They're just there to make up for numbers at this point, aren't they? Oh, Zhou 11th. Okay.
He was less than a second behind Logan Sargent.
Huh.
Look.
Well, that was unexpected. I was fully ready to just say, yeah, guys, give up. But no. All right, 11th. That's
Zhou 14th in the race, Bottas 16th. Is it the first? Yeah, Zhou is actually showing better form than Bottas. Very good. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Don't think so, no.
Andy.
Yes.
How many, across the entire race weekend, including both qualifying sessions, sprint and the race, how many times were deleted overall?
I want to err on the side of a lot, and I'm going to say 35. No! No, it's not.
Pink pot!
Oh,
it's exactly 35.
No way.
Oh my god. It's such a shame no one listens to us because this is such a satisfying moment.
What an incredible guess.
35 times deleted. Okay, I'm going to do the muffing again. Okay, there was 6 in sprint qualifying. Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri. But all of them, I'm sorry, Alex Albon's time. Yeah, Gasly, Piastri, Bottas, Albon, Zhou, Yuki. In turns 1, 5, 7, even 15.
Okay.
But yeah, only 2 of them were actually fast lap. Alex Albon, yeah, he did get time deleted, didn't he? And Yuki. Oh, sorry, I think we made a mistake. So there's 6, because there are 5 documents. Because there is sprint qualifying 6, we went through that. There were another 6 in sprint, and
in the sprints that's 12.
4 of them are Kevin Magnussen.
Nice, of course they are.
And 3 of them are 10, 11. 1 of them is turn 15. Very well done, Kevin. Yeah. In sprint qualifying, there are 2 documents in qualifying, and one of them is Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll got time deleted, and the time he got deleted was 4 minutes 55 seconds. Might have been an in lap or an out lap or something. I'm sorry. So it's 6 plus 6. That's 12. That's 1. That is 1, and there is 22. So I'm sorry, there were 36.
There were 30.
There's
one away.
There's one extra document I didn't notice. Because Lando's time, because there's a separate document for times deleted because of yellow flags. Double waved yellow. Oh, it was Lando Norris. He got his time. It was his in-lap, actually. So no one
I can't believe it. That was such a great guess. And then you snatched it away. This is the Taskmaster thing with Joe Wilkinson all over again.
Yeah, it's a potato throw all over. Oh, it's Russia 2021. Quite a hefty 22 times deleted in the race. 4 of them Alex Albon.
Huh.
Lance Stroll 3. Nico Hulkenberg 1-2. Kevin Magnussen only 1. Who would have thought?
Yeah, most of his shenanigans were on track during the race.
Right, exciting. A good race.
Very exciting stuff. Very good race weekend overall.
I was arguing with one of our mutual friends that I said, it was a decent race, actually. I thought might be getting interesting there or something. He said, oh no, there are just people like lunging and stuff. And like, still, it was an interesting race. It wasn't a procession. It almost made you forget that we were in Miami.
Yeah, almost.
Almost.
With its fake seawater.
And I thought they did that the first year because they didn't have time. Nope. That's fake as hell.
Fully what they decided to do. To be fair, if they did it with real water, it's Florida. It'd immediately fill with algae and then get mosquito infected in like about 5 seconds.
And alligators.
Yeah, and alligators. It spawns alligators. They grow from nothing.
They should do the Miami race in like January. The weather's nice. There are mosquitoes.
Yeah. It'd be a nice time to do it.
Yeah, going to Florida in January is
going to Florida around January, February is really nice. Yeah,
you should do that.
Yeah, recommend it.
This episode has been brought to you by Tampa Tourism Bureau, which is actually and they're very fluffy dog.
And they're very, very fluffy.
They're very fluffy.
Right, I have been Andy.
I've been Alex.
And thank you so much for watching. This has been Times Deleted.
Good night.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.